What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Slacks YouTube channel. Today we have some big news. We will be going over the core set and classic format that was brought up yesterday, February 9th, which will be going live in Hearthstone, I believe this year. But it is a very, very big thing, as the last couple weeks I've been talking about adding a classic format, going back to the 2014 Hearthstone days, and I actually made a tweet about it yesterday because I was very, very excited and figured we would go over it today. This again is all being done on twitch.tv/slacks live. We got some people in the chat, as you can see, and we're just going to go from top to bottom, and we're going to go through every single thing because for me this is very, very big. As I've said before, I've played Hearthstone basically from 2014 hardcore up until Ungoro Crater, and just recently got back into competing under Team Momentum. Before this video continues, please check out our three sponsors, Fatal Grips, Melee Threads, and Pulse Labs, and use code MTM for 10% off at checkout. Alright, now let's jump into the video. Roche is here in the chat. We got some boys in the chat room here after I did my cringe intro. But we're basically going to be going through everything that Blizzard Entertainment announced yesterday, February 9th, 2021. So, introducing the core set and classic format. We've got some major changes on the horizon we're ready to discuss when card sets from Years of the Dragon, Rise of Shadows, Saviors of Oldham, Descent of Dragons, Demon Hunter, Initiate rotate to Wild. So, basically they rotate these cards out, I think, every quarterly each year. So, obviously, it'll be a big change to competitive Hearthstone in a Wild and Standard format. And the launch of our next expansion, we're planning to move the Basic and Classic sets to Wild as well to make way for the new core set. Okay, so basically what they're doing is there still is Basic and Classic cards that are in Standard formats. Leper Gnome's a big one. That I personally play a lot of, being a big Hunter player myself. So cards like that have been around since the beginning. Introducing the core set. The core set replaces basic and classic cards in the standard format and will contain a selection of 235 cards. So this is actually fairly big, based off the fact that the mini set had, I think, 60-something cards. So they're essentially adding 4 mini sets that they're going to be rotating in, I believe, if that is correct. But 235 cards is fairly large for a core set, and I don't know the technical terms for how big their sets are, but I do remember when expansions come out, there is around that, I believe, around 200 cards, or maybe around 150 cards, something like that. But that is very, very big for Hearthstone because of the fact that it doesn't allow the game to be stale. I know some people don't really like the meta as it stands right now, where it's a lot of stalling and free taunts and big drops. Like Nozdormu Paladin, that shit tilts the fuck out of me. But I mean, again, it's Hearthstone. It's gonna have stuff that people don't like, people don't enjoy. Anyways, we move on. After set rotation this year, Standard will include card sets from the Year of the Phoenix, Ashes of Outland, Sholoman's Academy, Madness of the Dark Moon Fair, Dark Moon Races mini set, the next expansion, and the new core set. Okay, so they're adding, essentially, this is their most recent mini set. The Dark Moon Fair was also the most recent expansion, and the last, 2 from previous sets, as well as the next expansion. And so there's going to be another expansion and a core set. Okay, so they're adding the core set, and then they're also going to be having an expansion. So there's going to be an insane amount of cards then. The core set will be free for all players. Hearthstone's finally realizing that some people don't have a pocket to go and drop $80 every fucking new set to get all the cards, because the disenchanting the disenchanting system in Hearthstone, in my opinion, I've played it for this long, is terrible. I mean, you disenchant a legendary, you get 400. When you have to buy it, it's 1400. That doesn't really make much sense to me. But anyways, it'll be free for all players and will replace basic and classic in the standard as a curated selection of 235 cards intended to provide a modern collection of starting cards to players of all types and make Hearthstone even more approachable for newcomers. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's one of the problems with Hearthstone and why people don't want to play it, is the fact that it doesn't allow for people to just jump back in and play, because of the fact that a lot of these cards have a lot of high cost points in the form of enchanting, which you can't just buy a card for a money value of $2.99. You have to buy a card set. If you don't aren't lucky enough to open it, you have to use your your dust to make that card, and the only way you do that is by disenchanting other cards, which is not a very good system. Some of the core set cards are returning from previous sets. Some are reimagined favorites, and 29 cards are completely new. Okay, so they're Okay, so I see what they're saying. So they're going to be making cards from previous sets available in the core set that will be in competitive. So that's good. I actually do like that. Core set breakdown. 88 cards returning from Classic, 54 cards, 34 neutrals, 54 cards returning from Basic, 41 Classic, 13 neutral, 55 cards returning from Wild, 36 Class, 19 neutral, 4 cards returning from Ashes of Outland, 4 Demon Hunter class cards, 4 cards returning from Demon Hunter Initiate, 1 card returning from Hall of Fame Shadow Form, and 29 new cards, 20 class, and 9 neutral. So, the breakdown, I mean, makes sense. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to complain about it. I don't think you can see them, unfortunately, but again, I think that's fine. Like the basic set, you'll earn core set cards for leveling up each class. All core set class cards are rewarded between levels 1 to 10 for each class, and neutral core set cards will unlock based the sum of all your class levels combined up to the combined level of 60. Okay. Makes sense. Golden versions of core set cards can be unlocked by completing achievements associated with winning games as each class. When you log in after rotation, you automatically be granted the new core set cards equal to your current level for each class. Okay, so that makes sense. So if you've been playing Hearthstone a lot, you'll be getting more cards. Obviously, if you're a new player, you're still going to get the core set cards, but you'll have to level up other classes to gain other cards, which makes sense. I do like that more. I feel like it at least has some there is some value in playing Hearthstone over the past couple years because of the fact that you're going to be getting class cards based on the class that you play and the level that you at with specific classes, and everybody doesn't have like the same generalized amount of cards that they're going to receive. So that is actually that is smart. When that happens, the core set cards that are rotating will be swapped with new ones in your collection automatically. Core set cards will be available in your collection automatically at set rotation. Players will not see an in-game pop-up when this occurs. Okay, makes sense. Good to know. Okay. Introducing the Legacy set. Basic and Classic cards will join Wild in the form of a card set named Legacy. When the core set is added to rotation, we'll be retiring the Hall of Fame entirely. Okay, so Hall of Fame no more. The Basic and Classic sets will move to Wild under a new name, the Legacy set, which is where most cards from the Hall of Fame will go. There are a few exceptions. Jen Greymane, Baku the Moon Eater, and other Hall of Fame cards from the Witchwood will return to the Witchwood set, and Shadow Form will return to Standard as part of the core set. Okay. With the Classic set joining the Legacy set and Wild, all Classic cards and their Golden versions will not be craftable and disenchantable. Okay. Basic cards and their golden version will be granted to all players that have Wild unlocked for free at rotation, as will the normal versions of Demon Hunter Initiate cards. Golden Demon Hunter Initiate cards will be craftable and disenchantable. Okay, so I kind of understand that a little bit. I guess it makes sense. I actually like that they're able to be crafted or craftable and disenchantable. It makes sense. It helps people that play Wild. I'm not a big Wild guy, but it makes sense. Craft decks and compete using Hearthstone's original 240 cards as they were in 2014. Introducing the classic format, something that I am very, very invested in and very, very happy about. As people may know, they were in my stream a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about adding a classic format similar to what they did with World of Warcraft. And I think that they finally realized that people want this stuff because they want to go back and play Hearthstone at a time where it was a lot more simple, a lot more fun, maybe a lot more RNG heavy. But it was just different back then, and I think people like that because there's so many cards nowadays. It doesn't allow for a lot of people to just come back and play. It really has you really have to keep people's attention you really have to keep people wanting to come back, but they kind of did it in a way that is a little bit too hardcore in my opinion, where it's like you have to play, you have to purchase. There's new expansions all the time. They don't give you free cards, etc., etc. So I like that they're doing this. Craft decks and compete using Hearthstone's original 240 cards as they were in 2014, the year the game launched. We're excited to share that we'll be launching the Classic format alongside Set Rotation and our next expansion. The Classic format invites players to craft decks and compete using Hearthstone's original 240 cards as they were in 2014, the year that Hearthstone launched. This is big. This is very big. When logging in after a patch for the next expansion, before expansion content unlocks, your entire collection of basic, classic, and relevant Hall of Fame cards will be mirrored and available for deck building in the classic format as they were in 1. Blah 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 patch of June 2014. After we made a few important changes, with any and all balance changes since then reverted. Yes, in the classic format, Warsong Commander can give minions charge, Holy Smite can go face, and Leroy Jenkins will cost 4 mana. Broken. If you want to relive the old school Hearthstone experience, Classic will be the place for you. Okay, so essentially they're adding a new format. I believe this will be ranked as well. So you have the Classic format, which is basic and classic cards, Wild, which is all of the previous expansions that have been rotated out, and then Standard. standard card sets, which is the current competitive Hearthstone ranked system. Moving forward, unlocking the Wild format will also grant access to the Classic format. Classic's reward systems, rank systems, and seasons will function the same as Standard and Wild. Okay, as I said, and like these formats, Classic will have its own matchmaking pool. You will be able to challenge your friends in the Classic format from day one, and games played in the Classic format will count towards any relevant achievements. Perfect. This makes sense. Don't gimp people for wanting to play a different system. This is really good. Classic formats will appear in their own section with the collection manager, and a classic format decks will have a unique border on your deck selection page to differentiate them from their standard and wild decks. Speaking of the deck selection page, we're also excited to share that we'll be increasing the total number of deck slots from 18 to 27 alongside the release of Classic. This makes sense. I mean, they're adding a new section. There's going to be new decks. To be honest, it's not a big deal for me because I'm just somebody that just deletes decks and just remakes them because, again, I've played Hearthstone for a long time. I know what decks are good or, what my personal preferences are for certain cards, so that makes sense. Classic packs will now add to their collection for the Classic format as well as the Legacy set in Wild. If you have Knife Juggler in your collection, you'll have two versions of it. One that can be used in Wild with 2 attack and 2 health, and the one you can use in Classic format as it was in 2014 with 3 attack, 2 health. I like how they add Knife Juggler because this was the card that caused rage in original Hearthstone because of the fact that you play a card, you dagger somebody in the face. And it was 3-2 at 2 mana. That's pretty broken. Cards that were added to the Classic set later in Hearthstone's history will be usable in the Classic format or dropped from Classic packs, but will be craftable as part of Legacy set in Wild. Set in Wild. These include blah blah blah, Brightwing, Icicle, Tome of Intellect, Call of the Void, Pilfer, Gift of the Wild. Okay, this makes sense. Okay. I mean, I don't think many of these cards are actually that good, minus like, I remember Pilfer being pretty good. Righteousness is pretty good. Lastly, since cards from classic packs are no longer usable in standard, we will be replacing classic packs in various rewards such as Tavern Bros and achievements with the other recent card packs, and a bunch of frequently asked questions. To finalize this, I think this is really, really good for the game. I think most people can agree with that as well, that this is going to be helping the game in a long-term perspective. I think some people might think like that are hardcore players that this is kind of like what they did with World of Warcraft. Obviously, being Blizzard, they're going to kind of take the same style and just put it in a different game, but it makes sense. A lot of people want to play a classic format. I personally think it's really cool. It's going to add a lot more content to creators, streamers. I know me personally, watching on Twitch, a lot of the times you check Twitch and you check Hearthstone, it's Battlegrounds, and that's essentially just an auto brawler similar to TFT or Dota Underlords, or games like that. And in my opinion, it's kind of pulling away from the typical Hearthstone game that people want to watch, and I don't know. In my opinion, I just don't really like that as much. I would rather them. Kind of stick to more of a Hearthstone card game, playing cards, that sort of style. It would be like Magic the Gathering hardcore Magic the Gathering players seeing their game that's Magic the Gathering going into a game that's not like theirs. A game that is you know like a auto brawler style game, and I think that just doesn't really it obviously helps the game because a lot of people like it, but in my opinion, again, this is all my opinions, I don't think it helps the longevity of the game. um, but who knows, we might see. We might see a little bit of different takes on this, but I definitely really like this. I think this will have a lot of people that previously played Hearthstone come back, hopefully, and increase the player base. I think the player base is still very large. It's the same thing with like competitive Hearthstone. ESL taking over Hearthstone. That's a big thing because ESL is obviously a lot bigger than where they were prior. I think it's still on YouTube. Mistake me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I think it's still on YouTube. But ESL taking over is a big thing because ESL is going to be able to branch out Hearthstone into a better perspective throughout the year. Like as you've seen with Hearthstone Masters, the system will be better. The system will be better. The game will be better. And these formats that they're implementing into the game are going to be great for the longevity of Hearthstone. As it is now, it's kind of getting stale for some people, I would say. But again, I'm having fun with it, and I can't complain too much. But I think that's pretty much it for the end of the core set in classic format. Again, these are all my takes, so if you do not agree with me or you think that I'm completely wrong or that I'm a goddamn idiot, please tell me. Please give me your opinions in the chat or in the description. I'm always going to respond to everybody in the description, so make sure you guys go in there. Let me know what you guys think about the new core set and classic format, and we'll be having a lot of really cool Hearthstone content coming out in the upcoming weeks, so definitely stay tuned. Again, this was done with my lovely chat on twitch.tv/slack. So if you guys haven't followed me there already, make sure you guys go hit me up with a follow and subscribe and like if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys all coming in and listening to my take, and have a good one. I will see you guys soon. Peace out.